Talk with us about education a little bit. This is something that is obviously very important and strikes at the heart of every family on this island.
If I could somehow scrap the entire education system and start from scratch, I would. I would. We have an education system now that was formed back in the 30s to make good factory workers. I'm sorry, but it's completely inadequate to give children the skills they need to be able to thrive in the 21st century. Now, assuming that we somehow can't just start this entire education system from scratch, what I'm going to do is to sit down with teachers who've got a lot of time in the system, hopefully 24, 25 years, getting ready to go into retirement, and ask them. I think that if anybody can give some insights into how to reform the system that we have, it's going to be the teachers.
What about school vouchers?
I love the idea for school vouchers. The question is, can we get the teacher union to go for it? Perhaps we could split the difference. Perhaps we could try make one region of Staten Island a test site for school vouchers. Perhaps we could implement partial vouchers. There's no reason we have to go full on with the vouchers. Maybe something that would supplement parents and give them a little more incentive to choose where their children go to school and where they would spend those education dollars. Introduce the competition in the marketplace to help improve education.
Dave, what are your views on charter schools?
I have to admit I'm not as familiar with charter schools as I would like to be. However, it appears that they're extremely popular and there's not enough of them to go around. Every parent I talk to seems to be very interested in getting their children into a charter school. I don't know why there aren't more of them. I intend to look into that. It appears to be that there's something there we need to discuss with the teachers union as to why we can't get more charter schools. But I intend to look into that and hopefully we can expand that program.
The biggest headline in recent past, and maybe even in generations, certainly the biggest concern is where the New York State budget and debt and deficit is at. What can you do personally? What can you propose to ensure a balanced New York State budget?
This is probably the still best idea I've had so far in my campaign. I think that if we're going to balance the budget, we need to bring in literally the power of the people for this. I want to crowdsource the New York State budget. What I'm going to do is put it up on the internet, rather, in the form of a wiki. A wiki is a website similar to Wikipedia. You may have used that. What it allows you to do is to look at individual budget items, leave notes for other users on those budget items. This way we can figure out what all those things in the budget are. Half of the stuff, nobody even knows what it does. Once we've determined what those items in the budget actually are, then we can prioritize it. We can vote up or down. If Albany can't figure out what to cut and what to keep, I think the citizens of New York State will be more than happy to do that for them. In fact, I think that we may find we can keep all of the programs and services that we really want and need and cut all this stuff out that we have no idea what it does anyway. I think we'll be able to continue the level of services New Yorkers expect and also even possibly reduce the tax burden.
Do you think it's possible to break through the intensely partisan politics that we've witnessed recently? Do you, Dave Narby, feel that you can reach across the aisle, both aisles, in fact, to get things done?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. Given the severity of the economic crisis that's facing us, I think that it's going to that will wake up, I think, a lot of legislatures because they'll see what's liable to happen if they don't institute some reforms. The other thing I think is that there are a considerable number of people in the legislature who are actually true patriots and who are interested in limited government and states' rights, in restoring fairness to government. I think that their voice probably have been quiet because there has been such a rabid partisanship. I think that just my very presence in the Assembly will wake up a great many of them because they've never sent an independent libertarian to the Assembly before. And I think just by sending me, it will put all of them on notice that all of their jobs are in jeopardy unless they snap to it, start to listen to their constituents and do what the people want them to do. So yes, I do believe there is hope. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think there was hope. I wouldn't be here. I'd be in some foreign country. I'd be in Switzerland. But I still believe that there's time to turn this around and to take back control of our government, and that's why I'm staying up right now, Ed.
Without causing any undue alarm, can you talk about the realistic threats and risks that we face as Americans and New Yorkers if this fiscal crisis isn't brought under control?
Worst case, we're looking probably at a general financial and currency collapse. This, however, is a worst case scenario, and there's still plenty of time to avert this. I do have to say, though, that from history I've studied, from the economics I've studied, that every time a country's debt to GDP ratio exceeds 90%, a currency collapse happens every time. And right now, on a federal level, if you include Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the U.S.'s debt to GDP ratio exceeds 130, and by the time the current administration gets on, it will exceed 140. What does this mean? It means that we need to exercise our rights as a sovereign state to be able to, if the federal government will not provide it, create our own sound currency, complementary currency, to work alongside the federal government currency so that we can continue to maintain employment and provide services that people expect. Long term, what we really need is sound money. I intend to petition the federal government as a duly elected state representative to return to what is laid out in the Constitution. Only gold and silver are money, and only the Treasury should be given the power to coin money and create currency. The Federal Reserve flatly is unconstitutional, and it is at the heart of the financial crisis right now.
This country was founded in part, if I'm not mistaken, on property rights. Can you tell us your view, the libertarian view, on eminent domain?
First, I want to congratulate Albany for passing more stringent eminent domain restrictions. I mean, the Supreme Court ruling that happened, I don't know what it was, several years ago, was just egregious in my opinion. It was just a horrible abuse of property rights on the part of citizens. I mean, really, civil society is founded upon the right to own and keep property without having to worry about a seizure by an overbearing dictatorial government. And New York State did stand up, more so than some other states, for its citizens. I'm not sure if it went far enough. I think we really do need to fully ensure that you can own property in this state without having to worry about its seizure arbitrarily by a corrupt or perhaps incompetent government.
One gubernatorial candidate actually has suggested using eminent domain to halt plans or construction of the so-called Ground Zero Mosque or the Cordoba House. Where do you stand on the issue?
Well, it's very difficult to come up with an answer for that. There's been so much demagoguery on either side. It's become such a hot button issue. It's really kind of disturbing. On the one hand, I completely understand where people are coming from. I mean, I remember 9/11 very well. I remember standing there and watching the building burn and wondering if my wife was okay. She was on the ferry getting ready to go to work that morning. It was very traumatic, traumatizing for me, myself personally. And I mean, we had only been on the island a very short time. We were going to funerals. We'd only been there a couple of years. We knew people who had lost people through that. So I can understand why people would be extremely upset. I think it's a horrible taste to put a mosque there, and I'm really kind of surprised that the Islamic community would persist after the outcry that has existed. I mean, it's very clearly a very sensitive issue for people, and you would think, as being good citizens and good neighbors, that they might back off from that position and find another place to build their cultural center. That being said, I do think that property rights and civil liberties, which is basically what property rights are part of, supersede that. I think that they have the legal right to go ahead and build it there, and even though it is in tremendous bad taste for them to build it there, I think that they need to be allowed to build that there, because otherwise, what does it really mean to have civil liberties, property rights? They need to be extended to everyone. Because what's next? I mean, let's say someone tries to build a synagogue in an all-Catholic neighborhood. We're going to prevent them from doing that? Or vice versa. Perhaps the Jehovah's Witnesses want to build a Jehovah's Witness church, someplace which is perhaps not, where their religious views are not as well accepted. No, we need to stick for everybody. That said, again, I sort of question the motives with the Islamic community, and I think they need to stand up. They need to denounce terrorism, and they need to quit splitting hairs. They need to take a stand on the side of right or wrong, because I think many Americans are justifiably confused as to where they actually stand on these issues, and they need to make that clear.
You know, a lot of people have come to believe that voting for a third-party candidate is a wasted vote. In your opinion, tell us why it's not.
Main reason is that look at who you've been voting for, say, the past 80 years. How well has that been working out? I would say that anybody who's voted for a Democrat or Republican, with rare exception, in the past 80 years, that vote has been wasted, because all that has done has been to perpetuate this two-party red team versus blue team sham. And I think now people are finally sick and tired of that. I think they're starting to see through and look behind the curtain at the little men there pulling the levers. If you don't vote for a third party or an independent in this election, I would say your vote is wasted. So really, I mean, I would say absolutely, vote libertarian. But you know what? If you want to vote for socialists because you believe in socialism, so be it. Vote for them. If you're an ultra-conservative Christian and you want to vote for an ultra-conservative Christian candidate, so be it. Vote for them. Just make sure they're not a Democrat or a Republican.
What else do you want to do when you get into office? What other things do you have in mind to improve our quality of life here? Accomplish?
Oh boy, there's so much. Really, I want to be able to use the platform that I'll be given to speak out about things which have really either been given lip service to or completely ignored for many years. Civil liberties, human rights, free markets, limited central government, more local government, the principles of freedom, the putting people first, and the respect of people before the powers of government. At this point, the abuses of government, I mean, people are afraid of their government. And that is exactly opposite the way it should be. The government should fear the people. Government should fear the people because we are the ones that give them all the power. And I just really look forward to speaking to as many people about liberties, or people about freedom, about libertarianism, and hopefully restoring some hope and giving some vision about how it could be as opposed to how it is, because I think we really do need to focus on where we want to go and what we want for our country as opposed to how it is right now. So that'd probably be the single most important thing I think that I could accomplish.
Okay. I also know that you're a proponent of states' rights and in fact believe in a sovereignty measure which invokes the 10th Amendment. Is that necessary at this point in time with in the context of the last couple of administrations?
I think it's absolutely necessary. And here's the reason. The federal government's first job is to protect the citizens. Protect the citizens. And with regards to the current financial crisis, they have failed miserably. Failed miserably. Basically, if the federal government is not going to stick up for the citizens of the United States, then the state of New York has to stick up and protect the citizens of New York. And if that means protecting New Yorkers from the federal government, so be it.
Of all the things that you've talked about with us this afternoon, Dave, what would be the one issue, if there could only be one issue that you could address during your time of public service in Albany, what would that be?
Well, the single most important issue that's facing us right now is really the money. I mean, it really does all come down to the money. The federal government has abandoned its duty, according to the Constitution, to ensure that we have sound and stable currency. They gave that away in 1913 by passing the Federal Reserve Act to a group of private bankers. The Federal Reserve is nothing to do with the federal government. All right, and there are no reserves. The name was chosen very carefully to confuse people as to its true nature. They are a private banking interest. I would dissolve the Federal Reserve, and I would restore sound money to the nation if I could change one thing. As a state representative, all I'll be able to do is lobby for that, but up until we achieve that point, hopefully we'll be able to provide a sound currency for New York State until we can achieve the sound currency nationally. That would probably be the single, if I could only do one thing, that would be it. That would be it, because that would have the biggest impact, I think, on improving everyone's quality of life. Stable currency.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, thank you, Ed.